we're gonna jump in if that's okay with everyone.
Very good.
All right, well, welcome. My name is Nicole Olusanya. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm on the MassCreative Leadership Council, and I'm also a co-facilitator. For the Quincy for Transformative Change Arts and Culture Task Force. For those of you who don't know, Quincy for Transformative Change is a newly formed anti-racism organization that brings together people in the Quincy area to end systemic injustice. We value diversity, and we seek to transform Quincy by addressing and eliminating unjust policies and practices that stand in the way of fair treatment and opportunity for all. Our primary goals are to educate, inform, advocate, and take action in solidarity with Black lives, and to create and maintain a more inclusive Quincy.
Thank you.
Yay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Timothea Pham. I am a program officer at the Mass Cultural Council. I work specifically with the community initiative team, and I am very thrilled to be here, and I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. So right now, I'm about to share my screen, and we will be starting a presentation. But just some ground rules, and we'll be going through this during the presentation. If you want to keep yourself on mute, unless you want to speak, and if you have any questions, what you'll be able to do is at the bottom, you have a chat box. And if you have any technical questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and our team will try to answer as many questions as possible. So I'll hand it over to Nicole.
Great, so before we launch into our introductions, we'd like to share a land acknowledgement. So this is an acknowledgement that our virtual gathering is in regards to Quincy, Massachusetts, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Wampanoag, Nipmuc, and Massachusetts people, and more specifically, the Neponset Band of Indigenous Massachusetts tribe. Quincy is known to the Massachusetts people as the Massachusetts and Passagenset, recognized historical Indigenous settlements in Quincy, and it is the ancestral homeland of Sachem Chickatawbit, the principal chief of the Massachusetts when English settlers arrived in the Massachusetts territory. It is important to understand and honor the history of the Indigenous land that we occupy, and to own our place within that history as we work towards a more just future.
Great. So before we jump ahead with the presentation, I just wanted to kind of go over the agenda for tonight. So first, I wanted to actually acknowledge a few special guests that we have with us here tonight. We have State Representative Tacky Chan with us, and we have Mark Carroll, who is the Vice Chair of our board at the Mass Cultural Council. So thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to, working with you and having you here to listen to the community abroad. And so after that, we're gonna go into some meeting purposes. I will be talking a little bit about the Mass Cultural Council, which is the state arts agency, a little bit about the local cultural council grant program, and we're going to be joined by Ed Fitzgerald, who is the chair of the Quincy Arts Council, but also the director of the Historical Society, and Kelly Cobble, who is also involved with the Quincy Arts Council, and she's the president of the Quincy Arts Association. We're going to have also speakers from MassCreative, which is our state arts advocacy agency. We have about 2 discussion questions, which will be really exciting. And then afterwards, we're going to have a wrap up and just a list of action items for you to all be engaged in. So basically, we just wanted to kind of go over some of the rules of engagement. So first, keep yourself on mute when not speaking. Utilize the chat function during the presentation should you have questions, and we will answer questions following the presentation. But throughout the presentation, if you do have technical questions again, feel free just to drop them in the chat. And during discussion, we will have specific instructions on how to participate.
Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we're doing this work. I'm reading from the screen that's above me, so that's I'm connecting with you, but I'm also looking at my other screen so I can share with you the right language. So why were we doing this work? So we're organizing for a few different reasons. Because COVID-19 has greatly impacted the health and economic vitality of our country and disproportionately affected communities of color. The arts and culture sector has greatly suffered, leaving cultural institutions shut down and many unemployed. Furthermore, our country continues to grapple with racial injustice as we witness senseless acts of hate and violence every day. In Quincy, our diversity is an asset to our city. According to 2019 US Census data, Quincy's population of approximately 49,000, 60% is white, 31% is Asian, 5% is Black African American, 3% is Hispanic or Latin, and 1.9% two or more races. 0.2 is Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, 0.2 Native American or Alaskan Native. Recently, so just on September 16th, the Boston Globe reported that Quincy has the highest concentration of Asian Americans in any municipality in Massachusetts. So with the revitalization of Quincy's downtown area that includes new green spaces, restaurants, retail shops, and residences, arts and culture are uniquely poised to help support the economic growth and sustainability of these businesses and the city as a whole. So how might, so this is a, you'll see Timothy has just pulled up a infographic of the demographics according to the US Census data, which we'll talk about it, but if you haven't filled out your census, please do it. September 30th is the deadline. So you can see the infographic there. So, so these are some of our essential questions as we do this work. How might we use the arts as a tool to uplift our diversity and create community among us? How can we use the arts to help rebuild a healthy and economically vibrant city? And to that end, we are organizing artists, creative entrepreneurs, arts advocates, and leaders in the city, across the city, to provide an opportunity to unify artists across the city and uplift BIPOC and youth artists. I see one of our teen artists here on the call tonight, so I want to give her a shout out, and I'm sure Molly and I'm sure Maddie's here tonight too. So the youth voice is very important. Develop relationships between Quincy artists, state and city arts agencies, organizations, and businesses, and provide Quincy artists access to advocacy tools that result in local funding, resources, and support for Quincy artists. Yeah, so Timothy is going to talk about this specific meeting. Great,
thank you, Nicole. So why are we having this meeting today? So we're really here to share this space together. I think during, this year, just the events that have been happening, a lot of people just feel the need to connect and just to be heard. So we're really here to really be present and to center ourselves around this. We want to share opportunities for engagement and tools for advocacy. Right, so this meeting, we think of it as the first step, just to create a dialogue, and hopefully this will lead to some sort of action. We really want to share our visions and dreams for arts and culture in the city of Quincy. And we really want to identify needs from the artist community, especially from us at the Mass Cultural Council, and I know MassCreative too. We're really here to listen and just to be as supportive as we can. So I am going to be now talking a little bit about the Mass Cultural Council for those of you who might not be familiar with it. So the Mass Cultural Council is a state arts agency, and our mission is really to promote excellence, inclusion, education, and diversity in the arts, humanities, and sciences, which will foster a rich cultural life for all Massachusetts residents and contribute to the vitality of our communities and economy. And we really support communities on the ground by providing support through a range of grants, initiatives, and advocacy for artists, communities, organizations, and schools. So right here, we do have like a small graphic of just basically our major programs. As of now, because of what's been happening, most of our grant programs are put on hold, except for our local cultural council program, which I'll go into a little bit. So right here we have our cultural investment portfolio, our cultural facilities fund, creative youth development, our artist department, you know, and they also work with people who work in traditional arts and folk heritage. We have our universal participation team, and then us, which is the community initiative. So a little bit about the community initiative. It's a relatively new effort at the Mass Cultural Council. It's been around for a little bit of time, but we really do focus on 3 major grant program areas. So that is the Local Cultural Council program, the Festivals program, and the Cultural District Initiative. So what are these 3 things? So basically the Local Cultural Council program is the nation's largest grassroots funding network in all of the country, which is really exciting. So we have 351 towns and cities in Massachusetts, and there are 329 local cultural councils in the state. Every town and city gets an allocation from us, and those are distributed to the community through grants. And every local cultural council is very different. You know, we have, you know, places in, oh, I'm so sorry. I am getting a call. Okay, my apologies. So local cultural council program, every town and city is different. Every local cultural council is different. And they're really made up of the whole program. There are about 2,500 cultural agents that help us work on the ground, and most of them are volunteer based. So it's really exciting to see what they've been able to do throughout such a long period of time. We also have our festivals program. So we give out grants to festival producers, but we also offer technical support, so one-on-one assistance. And basically that's kind of how we've been really engaging with festival producers during this time. A lot of people are asking, what does it look like to have a virtual program? Is it appropriate for our festival to even go virtual? And what does that actually mean? So right now we're working on a toolkit basically to provide resources for all festival producers, and that's going to be made available in our site in a few weeks. And we also have our cultural district initiative. There are 50 state designated cultural districts throughout the state, and it's really just a great way for, you know, local businesses, artists, cultural nonprofits, and community assets all in a navigable area to really, bring out the arts and culture within a municipality. So a little bit more about the community initiative. So about myself, I work with communities in the greater Boston area, greater Springfield area, and Nantucket. So basically supporting the work of local cultural councils, festivals, and cultural districts in 3 regions. So we are a team of 6, and this is just basically where we work. And then you'll see kind of the pink areas on the map. Those are our cultural districts. So how have we worked with Quincy specifically at the Mass Cultural Council? So since fiscal year 15, the Mass Cultural Council has provided a total amount of $454,740 to Quincy. And those have been distributed on all of these examples of the grants that we have here. So we support individual artists through artist fellowships. Public schools will apply to us and basically get a small grant for students to go on cultural field trips. We have our cultural facilities fund. And I believe one of the last projects that we had with Quincy was just I think it is just at the cemetery. It was just kind of to redo the tomb renovation. And festivals grants, so basically we've supported, you know, I think we have people from Corey on here, Quincy Asian Resources, so thank you for being here. We've supported the August Moon Festival, Lunar New Year Festival, which is, you know, a large part of why people come to Quincy too. And we have our local cultural council. So specifically in Quincy, we have the Quincy Arts Council. And, you know, what I say is all local cultural councils hold kind of the cultural vision for the municipality. And so I really owe it to them. And that's why I'm here. So I would love to, you know, bring in Ed, Fitzgerald, and Kelly at this time.
There, Kelly.
Hello,
Hi.
this is Kelly. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Kelly. Well,
I don't, oh, Sorry. Do I have my video on?
Your video is on.
Okay, great. So you go ahead.
Okay.
Since you were prepared.
Well, we'll see about that. So as Timothea said, we are, although we are called the Arts Council, that name goes back to some time ago, before the actual alliance with the Mass Cultural. So we are the local cultural council for Quincy. So we cover we're the main conduit for grassroots grant making from Mass Cultural Council to the Quincy community. And we provide the grants in the areas that Timothy has also specified, the arts, the humanities, and what they were calling the interpretive sciences that they've apparently slightly reframed in the description now, but essentially public science, science education, that kind of thing. We are appointed by the appointing authority in the city, which is the mayor. We serve as volunteers. And this is our main function, is to provide within the grant cycle, to manage the grant cycle for Quincy, to review the grant applications, to make decisions, and then administer the grants as they go forward. The grants are running a little bit later than usual this year because of COVID-19. The state has pushed the schedule back, and Timothea can correct me if I get any of the dates wrong, but I believe the basic grants will be available to be applied for starting on October 1st, and the closing date will be November 16th. Anyone is free to apply. I believe anyone is free to apply to any local cultural council. Our one key local priority as the Quincy Council is that we will give priority to Quincy-generated projects. The application is relatively simple to do. It must be done online now, but it's very easy to do. And you do it and you click and it's submitted. We get it as a PDF package and can review it. We will have a community information and input meeting at some point in October. It will probably also, given the circumstances, be a virtual meeting like this, but people who are interested in either making recommendations or in learning more about how to apply or what the anything that they want to know or to tell us what they think will be welcome to apply to, come to that meeting. All of that will be posted. It will be in the Sun. It'll be on QATV that when the meeting is being held, and the call for applications will go out through the Sun, the Ledger, of QATV as well. We don't know what this year's allocation is. We are hopeful that it will be somewhere in about the same range that you see on the screen. I will say that every year thus far, we have had considerably in excess of the allocation amount in applications. So there is a kind of winnowing process that goes on. Again, we will always prioritize Quincy originated projects as opposed to projects that someone is doing from the outside that may be coming into Quincy or attempting to do it in Quincy. And what else, Kelly? Kelly, by the way, is co-chair. I should point out correct billing here is we are co-chairs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's a great job. Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to reiterate that we will be doing an open meeting before the deadline, obviously. And that does give anybody a chance to ask us questions about the process and whatever else we can answer. And I just wanted to point out that, again, besides what was listed here for the funding examples, is we do try to, we do have a few priorities that we look at every application with, and we do try to look at how can we reach the most diverse and well attended audience. So we look for, believe it or not, we have to look for senior citizens as an audience and as a place for them to desperately get some kind of culture, sometimes music, sometimes art, whatever it can be. We want something brought to their level, to their attention. We try to make sure that the Quincy Public Schools have some kind of supplemental fund. In the years past, we've been able to pay for either bus transportation or tickets so that schools, whole classes could go in and see a theater production in Boston or a movie or, an art installation. We've worked with Fuller Art Museum as well as South Shore Art Center, and we've tried to, expand whatever elements are out there to diversify our art reach, because we know we can't always do it right here in Quincy. So we help fund the Quincy Symphony and the Quincy Choral Society, so that, again, a broad audience is being reached by the allocated funds that we get. So we always do encourage creative applications. Again, we've done everything from visual arts to literary arts, theater productions, musical productions, individual artists as well as group artists, and public art, anything that we can do to appeal to the masses. We try to make that a priority for our recommendations. Does that help? I hope.
I should also, I forgot, but we should also mention, in addition to the traditional media that I was talking about, information about the Arts Council, including, I think, the portal to get in to do the application is mass-culture.org/Quincy. And you will get, you can get information about the council, our priorities. And I think, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, there is a portal. That's how you access the application after October 1st, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might just say, well, once you are there, the criteria, we can talk about the criteria more if people want to talk about it. But public benefit is one of the criteria that the state itself establishes.
And again, just to make it clear, this is a challenge that we have every year. Usually we do get interested parties attending our open meeting, and many misconceptions is that this would be seed money so that it can inspire a project to happen. But it is indeed a reimbursement. So you actually do have to plan and have your vision already created, and you actually do present it for the year. And then you present us with the reimbursable documentation, and then we can then write the check. So you basically have to know what it is that you're asking for before you ask for it, and then you get reimbursed the following year. Just again, that's one of our top questions that we get. So if that helps ahead of time, change your mindset just a little bit.
Great, thank you. Ed and Kelly, did you have anything else to add before we moved on?
We're here if anybody else, any other questions?
Great, thank you. So just to shift our focus to this slide right here. So this is the upcoming LCC grant application timeline. So I wrote this in the chat a little bit earlier. After this, we will be sending notes with a bunch of links, and one of those links is actually a step-by-step video on how to apply to the LCC grant, which will be really helpful for folks, especially if this is your first time. So October 1st, like Ed mentioned, that's when councils are going to update their council priorities. So every local cultural council has their own specific funding criteria. And then online application forms will open. And then November 16th is when the deadline for applications are due, 11:59 p.m. And November to December, local cultural councils will hold their voting meetings to review applications. And then at the end of February, local cultural councils will send decision notifications to applicants.
Great, thank you, Timothea, and thank you, Ed and Kelly. We really appreciate Ed and Kelly, you joining us and sharing the work of Quincy Arts Council. I'm hoping that it'll inspire many people to do a little bit more research and apply this year. So I have now the true pleasure of introducing the folks from MassCreative. If you didn't know, it is the Massachusetts State Arts Advocacy Organization, and they're going to tell you all about it. So I'd like to introduce Executive Director Emily Ruddock and Director of Engagement and Organizing, G. Quach. Thank you.
Hi all, I'm Emily. Before I start with the formal presentation, I just was hoping to get a show of hands of two things. So how many folks, and you can use the little reactions button down on your, if you're looking at the screen on the bottom right, how many, thank you Raki for the thumbs up. How many folks identify as practicing artists? Awesome. Very cool. Awesome, very cool, thanks. And then how many folks, and we'll see how quickly we can reset the reactions, but how many folks are aware of MassCreative or what we do? Okay, okay. All right, some. All right, great, 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 good. So I will not do a deep dive to not to bore everyone, but I'll try to sort of give you a sense of what we do over at MassCreative. And I do want to just give a minute for G, our new Director of Engagement and Organizing, to say hi too.
I don't need a minute, but hi everybody. I'm the new. I'm gonna shut up and learn.
Okay, so MassCreative was founded in 2012 around this sort of interesting moment where the amount of creative and cultural events and activities and things that were happening was at an all-time high, but the amount of public investment in the creative community was unfortunately at an all-time low if you look back from the founding of the Mass Cultural Council. And so MassCreative was founded along to sort of help move a sector that provides incredible benefits to all of our downtowns and our main streets, to our communities, the creative community, to make sure that the issues and the things that we needed addressed were being heard by our decision makers and elected officials. And so our work falls into these three buckets. Smart policy, as defined by our policy committee and our member organizations, where we're ensuring that the decisions that are being made for the arts and creative cultural community in the Commonwealth really do ensure that we thrive. Then making the case. So how are we making sure that elected officials on municipal, local, and state and federal level understand how important we are to their districts? And that's both in terms of making sure that we're sharing the relevant data, but that we're also making sure that folks have that information in their hands at all times. And so that's the final piece of what the work we do. It's people powered. So we exist because all of you exist, both in terms of being artists and being creative workers and cultural workers, as well as being advocates and in this work alongside with us. So how do we make sure that you have the relevant information about what's happening, that when elected officials are making decisions, as well as the ways that you can effectively advocate. I think COVID has been a really interesting moment when all of a sudden the normal channels of how we would do this, maybe even going to the State House, aren't available to us. So making sure that we still know how we can let our elected officials know what's going on. And I do want to recognize that Representative Chan is on this call and has been a really great great supporter of the arts and cultural community. So I want to thank you again for joining us today. So if I can have us move to our next slide. So the things that when we sort of developed our policy platform 2 years ago, in concert with our member organizations and our board of directors, there were 5 sort of buckets of work or issues that we really felt were important. So that's equal access and opportunities for participation, connected communities that are animated by the creative community, access to a well-rounded education for all students that has arts and culture at its core, and then a respect and support for the creative workforce and economy, and making sure that there are policies and programs that allow creative workers and independent and creative entrepreneurs to really flourish in Massachusetts. And then finally, happy and healthy people. We know there's a direct relationship between community cohesion and participation in the arts, as well as when how expressive arts therapies really help folks with acute conditions manage those conditions. So that's how we sort of build our work in the main places that we're looking to affect change. So the next slide will show you some of our over 400 member organizations that are part of our work, but we're not just about nonprofit arts or for-profit arts and cultural organizations. We're also we've got a lot of advocates too, individuals like you. I'm sure many of you receive our emails. So the next slide is just the number of advocates that take action and engage in our work at any given time. And we're really proud that our work isn't just about a small group of people making decisions, but it's about trying to really reflect the needs of the creative community across the Commonwealth. So finally, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the wins that the arts and community along with MassCreative has had since 2012. So, public funding for the arts is up. So last year we worked together to get $18 million secured for the Mass Cultural Council budget, and the continued funding of the Cultural Facilities Fund, which allows for the, I like to say, the not so flashy funding projects like the HVAC system for arts and cultural spaces can be funded through that program. And we've worked really hard on arts education issues in partnership with the Arts for All Coalition. We've worked on voter engagement and voter education work through our Create the Vote initiatives, which have really been about connecting voters that care about the arts and making sure they're aware of their role in making sure that everyone is voting, taking the census, and then also connecting with their elected officials and candidates running for office around why the arts and culture matter to them. And then finally, a connected grassroots network. So we're out there trying to support local advocacy and share the resources that we have with local arts organizers like Nicole and others on this call, and then providing tools and resources to strengthen advocates' understanding and engagement. So that is who we are. I wanted to just flag a couple of different ways to help that you can join in our work. So the first one is sign up for our mailing list if you haven't already. Please follow us on social, specifically Twitter. That's a great place where you can get ASAP action alerts. And then finally, this Create the Vote campaign that we're doing, which is really about the creative community's role in ensuring that everyone knows that they have the opportunity and the responsibility to participate in the census, making sure people understand that it's safe to take the census. And then also working to make sure that folks in Massachusetts have registered to vote, have applied for their mail-in ballots, and are actually turning out and voting in this year's election. So that we've got over 100 pledged partners, and we hope you'll consider joining us as a pledge partner. That you can do that as an individual, and we send you, like, every 2 weeks, we send you an email with actions you can take for both individuals and organizations. So that's really what we've been focused on. And just to give you a little bit of a context, but we're really glad to be here tonight because our work is only as strong as the conversations that are happening on the local level. And all of you showed up tonight and are interested in engaging with all of us to talk about this work and to talk about different ways that we can think about continuing to pursue more support and more visibility for arts and culture in Quincy. And we're right here ready to be your partners in that work. So I'm going to turn it back over to Nicole and Timothea.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. I think that I'm so glad that you're here with us tonight, so that people know that we have the all the things that we need to advocate for more arts resources and support, having MassCreative as a great resource to us. So I really appreciate your time with us. And of course, to everyone who's spoken so far, I realize that we have a limited time together, so we've kind of barreled right through. And one of the things I just invited folks to do, and I think Rocky is the one who led us off on, which thank you, Rocky, is if you haven't dropped your name and your organization, or your name and your artistic discipline in the chat, please do so. We'd love to get a sense of who's in the room. So my apologies for not starting that off at the top, but we definitely want to get to it now and recognize all of you. So now that we've heard a little bit about the local Arts Council funding opportunity, and also MassCreative, and gotten some arts advocacy tools, we're going to think about and consider how we can apply that to Quincy and to our community, and what that means. And so we're going to engage in a conversation about our vision for arts and culture in Quincy. So these are the two questions that we're going to engage with. So the first question, and they really work in conversation together. What does a robust and thriving arts and culture sector look and feel like? What do we need in order to make that vision a reality? Just before we get started, how we're going to engage in this conversation is we'd like you to write your name in the chat if you would like to speak. So we're, some people use the phrase stack. So you write your name in your chat, and then we will call on you. We would ask you to wait for that call. Even if the spirit moves you, we're going to ask you not to interrupt anyone while they're speaking. And we'd ask that everyone please keep themselves muted during the conversation. So, so let's get started. What does a robust and thriving arts and culture sector look like? And what do you need in order to make that vision a reality?
So right now, I just stopped sharing my screen so we can all kind of see each other, which is great. So again, if you do want to speak, just type your name in the chat and we will call on you. And I'll just, I think for time's sake, keep contributions maybe about like under 5 minutes for now. And if more people want to come on, we'll be able to kind of open it up again to people. Great. So I do see great. So would anyone kind of want to address the questions at the moment? So I do see Kevin. Kevin's hand is up, and I just wanted to call on you, Kevin.
And then I think that Natalie is after.
Yes, we have Kevin, and then we have Natalie.
My hand might have been up from earlier, but the thing that I think the city politicians and developers have positioned Quincy as is a historical tourism in terms of bringing people and money in. And so that's kind of the primary guidance that I've listened to, and in running the Quincy Farmers Market and other engagements, try to support, even down to the point of adopting the color schemes that have come out of the developers and Quincy's planning department into the new logo for the Quincy Farmers Market. So I think that's kind of, I'm not setting our own vision. I think we're trying to connect with the local assets. And a lot of the local assets are in the crafts area. There's still people that know how to build wooden boats. One of the commercial buildings I own my wife and I own is a furniture maker from Sweden. He built most of the cabinets in Hausneck. He also made wood toys for Mattel. Across the marsh in Germantown, they blew glass. We don't have anyone I think still remembers how to blow glass, but we do up in the MFA. We should bring that back and reintroduce it. So I'm interested in the local arts and crafts, and that's why every year, as part of running the Quincy Farmers Market, we help arts and craftsmen get into business and provide microfinancing when it's needed. And we need to integrate that more with the chamber. In order to accomplish this, I think we have to get structured deliberations amongst all the small players in Quincy, because every one of us is too small to perform as the type of nonprofit foundations and fund makers and grant makers expect. And they said that 15 years ago between the Boston Foundation and the Barr Foundation, that nonprofits throughout Massachusetts are too small and independently operating. They don't even have, most of them don't even have a big enough size to afford an accountant, the tax attorneys, and the board of directors that they have to support. Most of them have bigger board of directors than the number of people that are paid to work in the organization. We have to get out of that mode. And we have to talk about how to do it.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. So right now we want to hear from Natalie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie. I have been a resident in Quincy, I think going on 3 years in November. I started some impromptu dance workout classes on Wallaston Beach. You might have seen, I put in the chat my feature last Thursday in the Patriot Ledger, and was recently interviewed on WBZ News Boston. And you might see me on CBS4 TV. They might be coming out soon. But I really appreciate Nicole's invitation. I think for me, it's programming that speaks to Black and Brown experiences. And I don't feel like I see that often. It could be that I don't know, but being that I'm newer, like I just discovered Healthy Kitchen. I go to the library sometimes. I'm a member at the Y. I went to the farmers market. I love it. I love the beach. I was just there earlier, so I'm meeting some great people. And when I heard Edward and Kelly speaking, I had this weird sense. I was like, I wasn't sure, are they looking at applications from Brown and Black communities? Because according to the sentence, we make up 5%, we're not the masses, right? And so I think that is a socially relevant community, particularly right now. But I don't know, I just kind of felt weird about that. And maybe I'm just not as informed, and maybe some other people of color, like I see Mark and Shika and Ricardo who might know more, I don't know. But I feel like as a brown person in this community, I live on a pretty, I don't know Quincy, but I live on a pretty white street, on a pretty wealthy street. I live right next to the presidential house. So when, George Floyd happened, I did feel uncomfortable. And then when I went to the protest on Wallaston Beach, and, I think it's comforting in some ways as a brown person to see Black Lives Matter signs. But at the same time, yeah, so for me, I guess the answer would be programming that addresses Black and Brown communities, particularly maybe for Quincy, between Black and Brown and Asian communities, because, the Asian community is a big community in Quincy. And I'm excited for potentially money to support the work that I do with the dance workout classes, or as a public speaking coach, and helping leaders who may, be great public speakers, but own their voice even better in this day and age. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So up next, we have John McDonald.
Hi, everyone. Natalie, I just want to say that there was a Broadway friend of mine who heard about you because she saw you on my feed. She's a Tony Award-winning actress. Her name is Lilias White. And she said to me, who is this woman? What is she all about? And I want to know more. So you've made it all the way to Broadway without even knowing it. So congratulations, and I'll fill you in on that at another point. that I am the special events coordinator for the city of Quincy. And pre-COVID, we were doing monthly events relating to the arts, visual and performing arts. So please, I will put into the group chat my official email address. And if you have ideas post-COVID for events that you'd like to see happen, I certainly could, have individual conversations, group conversations, and as I'm doing the planning for 2021 and on, I can certainly consider your suggestions. And the only other piece of that puzzle that I'd like to share, there will be a cultural center. For almost 40 years, I probably was the biggest mouth in Quincy with regard to that concept. And that is coming to pass. And, I'm 60 September 9th, so hopefully it'll happen before I get to my 70th birthday and I'm in the grave. But it's happening. And I just wanted to let you know that a group of people were gathered from the mayor's office to discuss. We tried to get it out there through the Patriot Ledger, the Quincy Sun, and other avenues to let people know about this organization that was put together to discuss what it should look like, what the needs would be. But anyway, after about 6 or 8 weeks, we made a presentation to the mayor's office, and that is something that will be coming down the pike soon. And I certainly can share your individual groups as that develops. I can kind of be a conduit to share that information. There are some players in the room tonight that I know about this, and then there are others who might perhaps say, wait a minute, there's a cultural center happening. How did I not know this? So that's kind of a little bit of my role to help kind of facilitate that. So I just wanted to give those 3 shout out.
Great, thank you so much. So up next we have Tara.
Yes, Tara, thank you. Hi, everyone. John is ending his speech with a perfect lead into my first answer to this question, which is space. It's very difficult for us, for me anyway, personally, to imagine a community that has a thriving arts community without a space where people can physically see that there's a location to go to, a location to create art. Natalie, I'm hearing your story and I'm thinking, how great would it be to create a piece, right? But where do you go for that? Where do we find that space? So without a space, I think that becomes just a difficulty for artists, as well as for the public to even know that there's something happening. And then the second part of that answer is also, John's hinting at it, is communication. There is no kind of set way to get the word out about what is happening in the arts scenes. So even when I hear about arts things going on, and I'm in the arts world, I hear about them like a week after they happened, or it's word of mouth, but there's no kind of set way in Quincy to make sure we know what is happening in the arts world. So I'm glad that hopefully in 10 years we'll have a cultural center, but it would be great for us to think right now what spaces are available for us to create art and put it on. I can tell you at Eastern Nazarene College where I teach, I've been working on renovating the Fine Arts Center. There is now a dance studio there. There's a black box that can be rented, and the auditorium just got a new sound system. So I'm working on that so that it becomes more of a community center and not just for the college. And mostly that's because I care about the arts, that we should all be using each other's spaces. So if you're looking, hit me up. And then some sort of way that we can be communicating consistently about what is happening in the arts. So those are the 2 things I wanted to throw out.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. I think this is all very valuable information for us to be discussing, especially for us. what's important about this conversation is like what we're hearing on the ground. It really helps us develop perspectives at the Mass Cultural Council in order to figure out, you know, what we want to do with our programming and how we could better support you. So the issue about space, I think it's really interesting, and it's definitely a trend throughout the state that we're hearing. So thank you for that. So right now we have John Ferris up next.
Yeah, hi. First of all, this is all great. To answer the question, because I'll be brief, first of all, it's everything that I see here, like all these faces and all these people. So, you know, an arts community is made up of a lot of different people who are doing all different things. Dance, theater, visual arts, you know, avant-garde stuff, mainstream stuff, and it all feeds together. And yeah, Tara, space. It's cheap, affordable studio space. So every time I have to work, I don't have to empty this room and move it to the kitchen table and clear it off before supper's ready. And then there's so many places where I see where, you know, I think the Boston City Hall has like 3 galleries. The only one I know about in Quincy is at the library. Gallery space in City Hall, every restaurant I would love to walk into all the great restaurants that are everywhere and see local art hanging on the walls. And then, yeah, like sort of like a major gallery space, like a sort of meeting space, because like right now, the major kind of like meeting space for arts for me is the Quincy Library. And that's what I've always used. So, and that's it for me. Thanks. And again, this is great. I think this is all wonderful. Thanks for pulling this together.
Thank you so much, John. So up next, we have someone named Del Case. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, my name is Del.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think for time's sake, I think this is going to be the last comment of the evening. So no, go ahead, Del. It's okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay, I'll be quick. I'm Del Case. I've lived in Quincy for 15 years. I came here because of Eastern Nazarene College. I'm a classical musician. And I did start the Facebook group Quincy Performing Arts, which is growing a bit. So I'd like to think that that's a place where people can post stuff that's happening around town, though not these days. I would like to give a shout out to the library, which I've, you know, and Clayton. I've collaborated with them in so many ways, and they're such a treasure. So I would encourage everybody to reach out to them. I would echo the need for space, though I think that for me, the Quincy High School is an auditorium it's a nice addition to the community. Again, just ticking off my things as I listen. I'll try to be fast. You know, I run a project. It's a small professional orchestra that appears or disappears based upon whether I get funding for projects. And I would love to make it a nonprofit. You know, even just connecting me with an attorney or someone who would help me organize. You know, or maybe there's a program that I don't know about where people like me who are busy performing and teaching and don't have time to learn how to incorporate a group and run a board could learn how to do that. Or someone could I wouldn't say do it for us, but you know, maybe just, I think there are probably a lot of other people like me in Quincy who could probably do more and have a more robust presence if we could just get over that hump of getting on a nonprofit status, getting a board, getting organized. You know, I just don't have the bandwidth for that, and I think that what we have to offer is really valuable for our city, and for me that's a big hump. So I don't know if the Mass Cultural Council has that kind of thing, but selfishly that would be something I would love to see as a resource.
Great, thank you so much. So I just wanted to remind everyone, so not only do I work with local cultural councils, but I'm also your regional contact. So basically what you're telling me is that I can absolutely connect you with our cultural investment portfolio, which works specifically with nonprofit organizations. And they could be able to give you, you know, send you some webinars, recordings of things that they've been able to do with other nonprofits at this time. So basically, I know there are a few people who want to come in, But at the moment, I know that there are a few questions that are in the chat. So one from Kelly, is there any information on a cultural district in Quincy? So I forgot to mention this during my presentation, but we've worked with the economic development team in the city to kind of work with them to contribute to Fair Saturday, which is an event, you know, that highlights, you know, small local businesses, which is really great. But as of now, the cultural district program is on hold, and a state designation means something, but that doesn't mean, like, if you all think that that's something that you want, building at the local level at this time is definitely encouraged. And I could send whoever any follow-up information if you would like. So let me just take a look at the chat. So did everyone else or anyone else have anything you wanted to kind of talk about? If you just wanted to say hi, introduce yourself to the group, that would also be great as well.
Hi, I'm Shika Babin, and I want to say hello to everyone, but also to the Mass Arts Cultural organization and each of its individual divisions. I think this presentation is phenomenal. It is definitely something that we need, and we need on an ongoing basis. So it is well welcome and well received by me, and thank you all so much. I'm Shika Babin, and I'm the president of Quincy Pride. And at Quincy Pride, while most of what we do focuses on making sure that Quincy is an inclusive city for LGBTQ, we also try to cover and make sure that we're inclusive of all races, all ages, and any demographics that may feel that they are not represented in Quincy. I know Natalie, I just thank you for that speech. It's really well received, but I think Quincy is evolving in as far as its diversity and the diverse population within it. So I think just having you and a lot of us here, the diversity and representation around Black and Brown people will come and will grow, and we'll be a part of the collective group or the population that is here. One of the things I wanted to talk about with respect to the robustness and throw my hat into the suggestion in the ring is really, I think some of the common threads is really about the networking, building a network of understanding what is the cultural arts community here in Quincy, how do people come together, how do they stay connected, and how do they promote out? How do they, in fact, learn about each other so that they can support one another, either through their events, booking talent through engagements, having representation of art exhibits at their different events. I think that's really something that I like to be a part of and help do. I think that's a great start to have this effort really morph into really displaying and having the cultural arts represented in Quincy and having it be a part of the culture. People knowing about where they can go see events and what activities are happening. But that being said, just again, thank you all for this presentation today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Shika. I think so. The event was listed to be until 7:30. So I just wanted to, again, open up the floor to anyone who wants to speak, to introduce themselves, to ask any other questions. You know, Mark, yes.
Hi, thanks, Timothy. I just wanted to introduce myself very quickly. My name is Mark Carroll. I'm the Vice Chair of the Governing Board for the Mass Cultural Council. And I just wanted to thank Nicole and Timothy and Ricky and everyone else who's on the MCC team for putting this together, for all the hard work that you guys do at the local level. You know, just if everyone on the call can just, you know, reach out and stay in touch with these guys. They've got a ton of resources and are so willing to help out in any way possible. So you know, that's really all I wanted to mention. But thank you guys for putting this together.
Thanks so much, Mark. Did anyone else want to come into the discussion? Great. Susan. Susan, you are on mute.
I took myself off camera, but I forgot to hit the unmute button. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for everyone who put all this effort into organizing. I can't even imagine how much work this probably took. I know Nicole has been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, trying to like bring everyone together, and Timothea. I had a question. I had read something recently about the Somerville Cultural Council announcing something like related to sort of like social justice work that they were sort of like refocusing or positioning, and I'm curious to hear more about that. I wasn't sure if it was something that could be a model that Quincy could think about in terms of like adapting, if that's sort of like the interest of trying to be more inclusive, especially as you know, sort of arts and culture can be a tool of like bringing people together and feeling like people are more a part of a community. And I feel like they're, you know, having been a resident now of Quincy for probably about 20 years, that, you know, I feel like there is like a lot of need, you know, in trying to build some more of those bridges or create more spaces, I should say. I love that that comment before about sort of the need for us to continue our relationships and communication and a network of just sharing information, because I think it's been really hard. I do most of my organizing work in Boston, but you know, I've worked with Clayton at the library and know that there's a lot of efforts happening here. So yeah, I was just curious about Somerville. If anyone could provide information around that, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susan. I can talk a little bit about what's happening in Somerville, since I also work with the Somerville Arts Council. So basically 3 things come to mind. You know, their priority is to support BIPOC communities. So what they've been able to do is, number 1, they are creating a community Black Lives Matter mural project. 2, they've been able to gather some money in support from the mayor's office and to create basically a relief fund for BIPOC artists as well. So offering that grant support. And number 3, I do believe that they are also having a BIPOC photography exhibit. So welcoming, you know, people from all over the greater Boston area to come submit their work, and it's going to be displayed in an open area. So that's going to be coming up soon as well. And basically, again, we'll send out notes, and you have my email address. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what people are doing and what other people are doing across the state, I wanted to introduce Ricky, who's on the call with me. He's my team member, and he works in 3 different regions as well. So just, we're able to pull those people together if you're interested to, you know, see what's happening in New Bedford or like the Berkshires, for example, right? So, and we also do community check-ins once a month, and this is just for the entire field. And so our last one, it was basically kind of about community engagement and how people have been able to do that through a virtual medium. So yeah, I know it's a lot of information, but we'll make sure to send everything out.
Can I add something about the Somerville example?
Mm-hmm.
So the Somerville example is also interesting because in Somerville, they don't just have their local cultural council dollars to spend when it comes to supporting the arts and cultural community in Somerville. There's actually municipal dollars written into the budget, the city budget every year. So that's additional money that isn't, that can be used to prioritize some identified needs of the creative community, right? Through that, through the staff member or the staff of the Somerville Arts Council. That's part of municipal government. The other thing that's really interesting is that in response to the sort of impact of COVID-19 on the arts and cultural community in Somerville, a number of different leaders in the community wrote and petitioned the mayor and city council and arts council to say, we're in real trouble here and we need your help. And that petition got over 500 signatures. The mayor had a town hall, and it was at that town hall where he announced that they created a $500,000 COVID-19 relief package for the arts community. That's in addition to one that's specifically for Black, Indigenous, and people of color artists, or artists who identify as people of color. And granted, that's a community where there's sort of a very long tradition of supporting their arts community, though if you're in the arts community in Somerville, they may feel a little bit differently about the level of support, but it is a demonstration and an example of when a large group of people organize and really advocate to their local government to say, we really need some help here. Can you start looking towards the services and the supports that are gonna make this essential part of what makes Quincy, that change can happen.
Great, thank you so much, Emily. So I have John McDonald who wants to speak as well.
Sorry, I won't spend too long, but I wanted to update you guys on a few of the questions. So where is the gallery in Quincy Center? It's in the former Rogers Jewelry space. It's a brand new gallery. It's in the downtown area. As to Fair Saturday, we were chosen the first city in the United States. It started in Bilbao, Spain, and we were chosen last year to bring together art organizations to present their visual and performing options and disciplines to the community, while at the same time trying to raise funds for people of need and for nonprofits. And it was a very small event this past year, but it has potential to grow. So if you're interested in being involved, please send me an email and I can give you more information. Could it happen this year? Slight potential. It's the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. We're not sure yet. It hasn't been canceled. As soon as I get more information, I'll let you know. Also, the question about cultural districts in Quincy. Fox Rock has been working to bring in a cultural district. So I can talk to them and share with the group. As soon as they can give me their breakdown, I'll share it. And the last thing is, I'm gonna go back and see if we identified the needs that Tara and others were talking about with regard to spaces sharing and the needs. I'm gonna see if I can get that document and if possible, share it with you. But we also started exactly what we're all talking about here, a sharing of emails so that we could all stay in touch with one another. So it would behoove us, I think, to jump onto that group. But I don't want to get into all those conversations. I just wanted to let you know there's some things in the pipeline right now.
Great, thanks so much. I think Nicole, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and share just a little bit since folks are sharing. I just wanted to share a little bit about what we're doing with the Arts and Culture Task Force for Quincy for Transformative Change. Should anyone be interested in joining us, I want to give a shout out to a bunch of people that I see their screens on. So Feta, Beth, Molly, John was with us for a while, Yvonne, the other John was with us for a while. Clayton is our friend in that, and I know Sharon's on the call and likely with her daughter Maddie. If I've missed your name and I didn't get to shout you out, my apologies, but no, I have love for you. There's a group of us who came together to say arts are important to us and can be used as a tool for social change, and how can we think about that in Quincy and what can we do? And so we've done, so it kind of was inspired from a Chalk for Justice event that happened in City Hall where we chalked for Black Lives. And then we said, okay, the arts, we can use the arts to do something. And so from there, we had recently in September, we had a rock painting event on Wollaston Beach where we just set up shop and people came by and they painted rocks. Molly did some really great, I'm wondering if Molly, if you want to even drop one of the pictures, but we had a lot of teen artists come out and painted rocks in solidarity for Black Lives. And we're planning that every maybe 6 or 8 weeks, we do something in the community to engage folks in a conversation with art around racial justice. We're hoping to potentially do something in collaboration with the Quincy Art Association and Kelly in October. So that might be coming up, but I just wanted to share a little bit about that. We meet on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8 o'clock, and everyone is welcome no matter your experience or who you are. So.
Great, thank you so much, Nicole. Dagny from the city would like to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to see this great group of people. There's like 2 pages over here and a lot of new faces. So I'm very happy to be a part of this. Just quickly, a little bit about myself because I haven't met many of you. I am fairly new to Quincy as the tourism director, but I come to you the tourism director for the city of New Bedford. So I've worked with MCC on many of the initiatives they spoke about today, including cultural districts and festival grants and a lot of the information they spoke about today, as well as MassCreative. And then prior to that, I worked at the State Office of Tourism, which is MOT. So very familiar with the state tourism. Right now they're doing a local, My Local Mass push, because essentially right now tourism is, not doing so well, not where we want it to be. But we know that it's resilient and it will bounce back. So right now we're working on a lot of other initiatives, including promoting local. So we're promoting everything local in Quincy. That includes staying, dining, shopping, arts and culture, all of the above. We are doing a new website for Discover Quincy. So all of that information, we want you to send all your information, businesses, arts and culture activities. We know events are kind of slim right now, but there are a lot of virtual events, things like that we will be having we will have those on our website. And most of them will be user generated. So you will be able to, as the event organizer, go to the website and post an event. And we want that, right? We want to sell Quincy as a destination, and arts and culture is a huge part of that. So those will be phenomenal tools in my toolbox, along with John McDonald's events and some of the other dining establishments and hotels in Quincy and retail businesses. But arts and culture is a huge part of that, and we want you all to be a part of Discover Quincy's marketing and promotion. Coming up soon, I won't take up too much more time, but coming up soon, we're going to be doing some iHeartRadio promotions and some New England promotions to promote local Quincy. So I did share my information. If anyone has any questions after this, please call me, email me. We can set up a time to chat. So I thank you all, and it's so great to see all of you on this Arts and Culture Forum.
Thank you so much, Dagny. So we have about 2 people left, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll kind of end the meeting right there. But first we have Feda and then Clayton.
Hi, everyone. My name's Feda. I'm a photographer, local visual artist. I grew up in Quincy, and I still live here. And I'm also part of Quincy for Transformative Change, and we welcome everyone. For me, the main issues I see in Quincy is like the lack of spaces to really share the voices that aren't really represented and heard in Quincy, minority communities. I grew up in the Arab, Middle Eastern, Syrian, Lebanese community, which goes back like 20, 30 years here in Quincy. And the Asian community, the African American, Black community, South Asian, Middle Eastern. I feel like these voices are not represented in Quincy. And we need to hear more. And how can we create spaces where people are comfortable to share and express who they are? Quincy there's a lot of discrimination. There's a lot of majority white leadership that refuses to actually even recognize that Black Lives Matter. So we have a lot of issues in this city, and I really hope that through the arts that we can open up these spaces and share more creative ways to share these different experiences. So that's basically what I wanted to add. And thank you guys so much. It's really nice to see all the different people in this community and the city. And I hope we can have more meetings like this to talk about these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think last but not least, we have Clayton.
Thank you. Good evening. Yeah, I'm Clayton Cheever. I've been talking in the chat, but I thought I should add my voice to the conversation and just thank everybody for coming tonight. It's great to see everybody here. Two of the 4 priorities of the library are front and center tonight, and they are inspiring creativity and imagination and fostering community, and that's what we're all about tonight. So it's really just heartwarming to see everybody come together around things that are really central to what I dedicate myself to doing every day. So thank you for all of your work for our community, for our awesome city. There are just so many amazing artists in the city, and I've appreciated the shout outs from folks tonight, because we certainly do want to be nurturing and supportive here at the library. And we've been looking for new ways to do that since we've been closed since March. And we certainly still have our collections available, and you can place requests, and I'm happy to talk about all the ways that we are there and here to serve you as best we can. We've done some fabulous programs with Dell. If you haven't seen any of those, you should go check them out. You can catch them on video on demand on QATV. We have a great partnership with QATV, who John's been kind of silent with us here, but is an awesome community resource. So I have to give a shout out to them. There's just so much, and I won't take our time kind of echoing all the fabulous folks that we're working with in the community, but I do just want to express just appreciation for everybody's efforts here. Judy did mention in the chat a program that's coming up soon, because as we're also working on fostering community, we're working with people with Quincy for Transformative Change, with Quincy for Justice, with March Forward Quincy, to have some community conversations about issues that are central to to our existence in Quincy. And the first one's going to be happening on Thursday evening, October 22nd. I just had a really awesome conversation with Tiffany Adams and Nicole DePace, who are our leaders in a couple of those groups, who are going to be helping us put that program together. And it's going to be really fabulous. We're encouraging people to read the book When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Concouleurs. We also have some other suggested readings and viewing options. If you don't have time for any of those, there will be a short presentation of some core ideas at the beginning of that program, and then a facilitated conversation to talk about social justice here in Quincy. So I know that's definitely related to what we're talking about tonight. I'd like to welcome you all to come to that. I also wanted to share with you a little teaser for something that's going to be coming up soon. I was contacted by one of the members of the Charles River Sinfonietta, who was looking for a place to perform this fall, and they were not able, we're still not able to have mass gatherings of people, but I was able to bring in the Sinfonietta, which is a 7-piece group of musicians, and we recorded a couple of pieces of a total of, I think it was 9 movements of music in the Richardson Room, which is where we host our concert series. The concert series was rudely interrupted last March when everything fell apart, and we're still trying to figure out ways we can do things. But we brought that group in. We filmed this concert earlier this week. We're doing some work with the folks at QATV to do some post-production and make something that really highlights some awesome music with an awesome group in a beautiful space. I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. So watch our channels. That'll be streaming out in October. We'll do a premiere, but also making it available to view after the fact on some streaming services. There's lots more. I've put my email in the chat, and I'm just so delighted to see everybody here tonight, and don't want to take up any more of your time, and just to express my appreciation and gratitude for all your work, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Clayton, before you sign off, can you mention Monday's program?
Yes, absolutely. We have thank you for the reminder, Kelly. The Quincy Art Association and Quincy for Transformative Change have given us awesome support. We have a program happening next Monday at 7 o'clock, and it's looking at Norman Rockwell and his views on race. We have somebody who specializes, an art historian who does community conversations and is looking at the kind of evolution of Rockwell's portrayal of American life and the role that race plays and his paintings. So yeah, please come out. You can catch that. You can look at the links for the Zoom link, or you can watch us. The library has a YouTube channel. You're just looking for Thomas Crane Library on YouTube, or you can catch us on Facebook, and we'll have links there. It'll be live streamed across all those channels. So there's lots more happening. I could talk for the rest of the evening, but thank you. I appreciate the prompt, Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Timothy,
much. Yes.
People mentioned the lack of gallery space and places to show, but let me give you a list of what we had just 6 or 7 years ago. Quincy Farmers Market hosted 20 weeks of the Dorchester Arts Association doing fine art and interactive art at the market. We had a theater group on Cottage Street working with at-risk youth to teach them carpentry and other trade skills as part of performing theater. And they put their pit crew as a 5-piece performing music group at the market once a month. The President's Rock Club had half of their space dedicated to rotating art gallery. Gypsy Kitchen, which was a fabulous little wine and cheese shop, had rotating art every week. Archer West Gallery, right on Hancock Street, was in the farmers market every week showing fine art. The winners of the Quincy Arts Association for Best in Class, alongside doing finger painting with kids. The farmers market itself hosted presentations by Handsome Factory, which was more street art, graffiti type of art, airbrush painting of t-shirts, and some might say the cognoscenti of the cutting edge art scene in Quincy and Dorchester and Roxbury areas. We have right in here in Howell's Neck, the building we own was a carpentry shop, and next to us they did boat building, and they recently, just a few years ago, opened up and had their first art show right here in Howell's Neck. And we introduced live music to rejuvenate the Ruth Gordon Performing Arts Amphitheater just 5 years ago, when we moved from the Quincy Center to the pageant fields. At the farmers market, we have a poet in residence. We do live spoken word. We do poetry readings. We invite spoken word groups. We produce videos from it and produce it on social media. We have satire, social media-based satire of commentary on social issues that most people in Quincy don't realize are satire, and they're very confused. But we do it in the spirit of Mark Twain and and people from that era. And so I think it's, I mean, that's very rich. That was here just 6 or 7 years ago, you know. Why were we working with the Dorchester Arts Council? I mean, the Arts Association, because we went to the Quincy Arts Association and invited them for free. Show the art, we will host you, we'll help you do it. And no one was interested. So we went to Dorchester, right? We went to the Quincy open mic to ask for music, and we ended up going to the regional folk music network to do it because people from Quincy didn't want to step up. So there have been venues in Quincy. It existed. People from Quincy didn't step up. People from outside Quincy and the region stepped up. And that's how we started to interact. So there's a way to do it.
Great. Yeah, Kevin, I appreciate you sharing that history so much. I think it's important for us to hear and acknowledge the different arts and cultural experiences that have come before this conversation, right? Like, because people have been here there are people who have been here for a long time, and or who have been here for a few years, and there have been these experiences that not necessarily everybody knows about. So I appreciate you sharing that history. And so now that we know that, and now that we can see you and we're connected, you know, I think let's continue the conversation about how we can make that collaboration happen. So I appreciate you sharing that with you. Thank you. And that goes likewise for everybody who's joined us this evening. We are going to wrap up because we've just got 2 minutes left. This has been such a rich conversation, and we really appreciate your time, your presence, and all of your contributions. just to let you know, this is just a first step, a first meeting, and that we really hope to continue the conversation. So we are hoping to have a follow-up meeting and then see where it goes from there. So both designed from the things we heard this evening, and also from some thoughts that you might share with us through a survey that we've put together. So we've put together some action items here. This is the list. The first is the post-session survey. So that's serves a couple different purposes. One, to let us know how the meeting went. Two, like if you're interested in applying for a grant, we'd love to hear if you are, or if you're interested in joining the Quincy Arts Council as a board member. If you want to advocate for arts and culture in Quincy, and lobby for that, and also more ideas if you didn't get a chance to speak. So please fill out that survey. It really helps us to think about what might come next. And then, of course, there are links in here that I kind of already mentioned, but you can send an email to the Quincy Arts Council if you need technical assistance. Timothy is your person right there. In terms of the arts advocacy piece, particularly for the arts and cultural organizations that are here, please join the Create the Vote campaign. And we really want to try to have arts and cultural organizations reach out to their networks and encourage everybody to vote. So along those lines, we encourage everybody to check your voter status, vote, fill out the census. The census is so important, particularly for arts and culture, because it affects every local cultural council designation. So the deadline is September 30th. And if you've done it, great, reach out to a friend, a neighbor, get them to vote, get them to fill out the census. And one other thing for MassCreative, please join the mailing list so you can also have a sense of everything that's going on in the organization. So I think that covers it, Timothy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that covers it too. Again, we will be following up so that you all have this information. It can be a lot, but the thing is, it's really exciting just to be able to be here with you all. And, you know, whatever comes of it, like, I have full faith that the cultural Quincy community, we're going to continue to build and to work towards your goals. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I just want to say, again, a thank you to Timothea from Mass Cultural Council, and Ricky, who's been hooking us up with all the links. He's working so fast, and just want to appreciate him again. And Emily Reddick from MassCreative. Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, G, for being with us this evening, also from MassCreative. And of course, all of you. We will follow up with a thank you email with some resources from this meeting, and we'll stay in touch. We'll go from there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And one more thing, so you are able to save the chat. So if you go to the chat, there's like the 3 dots on the right. And if you just save it, it'll go somewhere in your folder. Sometimes I have a hard time finding it, but that's also a possibility. So make sure you do that. And thank you again.